Today we've got 15 incredible Teslacam videos showing drivers pushing their car's boundaries. Roll them.
Wham, bam, Teslacam. I hope you're satisfied.
This submitter was waiting at a red light when he witnessed a textbook case proving exactly why we need self-driving cars. A Subaru driver ran a red light, nearly striking a couple in the crosswalk. Our submitter thinks the Subaru driver was distracted or perhaps blinded by the setting sun. Honestly, we're not sure what was going on because it looks like a pickup and a Lexus also ran the red light. Either the traffic light was broken, drivers couldn't see it because of the sun, or California drivers really are that careless. No matter the reason, a Tesla using FSD would have certainly stopped instead of putting pedestrians in danger. Or would it have? Keep watching because things only get weirder. Mustafa was driving his 1-month-old Model 3 with full self-driving engaged when he exited a highway. He pointed out that the exit ramp eventually rejoins the highway, so he needed to change lanes to the right. FSD had signaled for a lane change to the right, so Mustafa was checking the side view mirror and blind spot camera to make sure the other lane was clear. When he looked forward, he realized the car hadn't changed lanes and was headed straight toward a curb. Mustafa reacted at the last second, forcing the steering wheel to the right to avoid hitting the curb. In spite of his reaction, his left wheels still clipped it. He told us the same thing happened to a friend as he was giving Mustafa a ride home. Before he'd bought his Tesla, his friend's car actually went up and over the curb in the same place, as his friend hadn't steered away from it prior to the impact. It looks like plenty of human drivers have made the same mistake, as the signs that should be here have been broken off, and the gore point striping has been worn away by people driving across it. If anyone in Houston wants to go check this out, it's Fenton Street exit 1B off I-610. Hopefully someone from the city will go replace the signs and striping so FSD can see the island coming. Harun was driving down a Pennsylvania highway when a driver ahead of him veered onto the shoulder and collided with a parked car. Harun stopped and called 911 before making sure both drivers were okay. He said he had to use his Johnny Bravo strength to get the Infiniti driver's door open. Police arrived within minutes, and Harun emailed a copy of his Teslacam footage to the responding officer. He told us he's been waiting for this moment, and although it was unfortunate, he's excited to see it on Wham Bam Teslacam. He also sent us this photo of his slightly modified Model Y. Very nice. If you want to see more bad Pennsylvania drivers, we recently released a special episode over on the Wham Bam Dashcam channel. We'll put a link to it at the end of this video. Anastasia was on her way home to Ukraine after taking refuge elsewhere in Europe. She told us the weather was difficult, with temperatures of 23 degrees Fahrenheit and slushy roads. She had 120 miles to go, with only 3 hours until the curfew that starts at midnight. Suddenly, the driver of an oncoming van lost control and headed straight toward her. She reacted quickly, maintaining control and evading the van. She and her friends felt bad about not stopping, but they chose to continue out of concern for their own safety. It was actually Anastasia's husband Alex who sent us the video. He imports totaled Teslas from the United States and fixes them up for resale. In fact, he recently bought a wrecked Model S, and in next week's episode, we'll show you the Teslacam footage he found that reveals exactly how it was totaled. Kyle was driving his Model Y in Ames, Iowa. He asked us to shout out the Cyclones. He was on his way to Iowa State University when a black pickup truck turned in front of a Ford Explorer before it clipped the pickup. Kyle stopped and called 911 to report the collision. When police arrived, he gave them a statement along with a copy of his Teslacam footage. He told us the Explorer driver was another college student. Who do you think was at fault in this collision? Traffic in the left lane was backed up, but the right lane was clear. The Explorer driver should have been able to proceed ahead at full speed. Kyle told us the Explorer driver had frozen up, but it sure looks like she reacted quickly to us. She just had no hope of stopping once she realized the pickup was failing to yield. What do you think? James was driving down a highway in the Netherlands when he encountered a driver who'd failed to properly secure and load their trailer. The trailer began fishtailing before eventually flipping over. When James got closer, he noticed that the trailer had been loaded with what looks like sand. Maybe it was overloaded, or perhaps the driver had just been going too fast. This submitter was driving east on Highway 26 when traffic in the exit lane came to an abrupt stop. He was able to safely decelerate, but the driver of a RAV4 two vehicles behind him swerved and collided with a Toyota Tacoma in the travel lane. The Tacoma then hit a van in the passing lane, making this a three-vehicle collision. When our submitter sent this footage to his wife, she replied back, "Wham Bam Teslacam." If you have a video to share with us, the submission link is in the video description or visit whambam.com. Remember, there are two A's in BAM. Salim was sitting at a red light when, bam! See? Two A's. A Jeep driver with a flashing yellow light turned left in front of a white car headed straight, causing a collision. Salim stopped and waited for police and paramedics to arrive, then shared his Teslacam footage with responding officers. Sarah was on her way home from work during rush hour. She told us traffic at this spot on Highway 1 tends to ease up a little, but it can also rapidly slow down, which is exactly what happened. The driver of the RAV4 behind Sarah was able to stop, but the driver of the Ram behind it, well, you know. This is the second time Sarah has been rear-ended on this highway in rush hour traffic, but only the first time in this Model 3. She wishes people would pay attention and leave adequate stopping distance. Even during rush hour, leave the phone alone. All three drivers pulled to the shoulder and exchanged information. Sarah told us they didn't summon first responders, and thankfully, nobody was hurt. The RAV4 was undrivable and had to be towed away, and was ultimately totaled. Both Sarah's Model 3 and the Ram pickup were still drivable. She said the RAV4 driver was very upset over the loss of her vehicle, as it had already been loaded up for a camping trip she was planning to take that weekend. The initial repair estimate for Sarah's Tesla was over $6,000 US, but after nearly a month in the shop, the final bill exceeded $10,000. She sent us a photo of it after getting it back, and it looks as good as new. Kenny was on his way home at 3 a.m. when he signaled to pass the driver ahead of him. He told us he checked his side view mirror and the blind spot camera to make sure it was safe for him to change lanes. Sadly, it wasn't. The speeding BMW driver had recklessly passed another vehicle in the passing lane before cutting back into it so quickly that Kenny's Tesla didn't even have time to give him a blind spot warning. Kenny told us that he had to check to see if he had superpowers after experiencing that spidey sense moment. Nice save, Kenny. George was driving down a California highway when a Chevy ahead of him began disassembling itself, depositing parts all over the road. George let off the juice pedal before choosing to run over the smaller trim piece instead of the bumper cover. The Chevy driver just kept on going, and George told us he wasn't able to catch up to it to flag them down. Now imagine for a moment if a Tesla driving along suddenly lost a bumper cover. It would have made national news, and Dan O'Dowd would have blamed it on FSD. Hamilton was driving through a residential area late one night when a reckless Honda driver decided the public road was his own personal racetrack. Hamilton told us the Honda Civic, complete with an overly noisy tailpipe, bottomed out as it passed in the oncoming lane, sending sparks flying. This performance driver is just a Honda bump waiting to happen. Jack was driving his Model X in Avon, Indiana, when a car exiting a parking lot suddenly accelerated into his Tesla, sending it over a curb and up onto a sidewalk. The SUV contained 3 occupants, but thankfully nobody was harmed by the collision. Jack showed his Teslacam footage to responding police, and the other driver immediately accepted responsibility. As Jack drove away from the collision scene, his Model X started displaying all sorts of error messages related to the wheels and suspension. Fixing his Tesla cost over $10,000 US and took just over 2 weeks. But he rejected the repair due to an issue with the paint. He's now waiting for that area to be repainted again. Martha's Model Y was taking her to the dollar store when an SUV driver made, as she puts it, the weirdest, sketchiest, scariest U-turn ever. Martha noticed the SUV had temporary plates, so perhaps the driver had just finished buying a vehicle with more power than they had skill. She asked us to shout out her husband and thanked him for introducing her to FSD. Alex was driving his Model Y in Sydney, Australia, when an entitled SUV driver evidently thought Alex's Tesla would just vanish into thin air. He told us this has happened before, but the offending driver has always backed off before a collision occurred. This time, that didn't happen. The two drivers stopped and exchanged information, and Alex told us that the SUV driver shared his details between profanities. He said that the other driver believed the collision was Alex's fault, and he kept telling him, "You didn't see my indicator." Go watch our Top 150 Mega episode over on the Wham Bam Dashcam channel, or check out the special Worst Drivers of Pennsylvania episode. If you want to make sure you get every new upload in your feed, don't forget to subscribe.